Mark, this is a revelation for you in this role. It's incredible watching you as Tom Christie. Was there something about the role initially that drew you to be a part of Outlander?
I guess I guess to start from a position of such that the first reveal in Ardsmuir and a place of real difficulty and already setting up an antagonistic relationship with Jamie, who the audience know so well by now and love, that this man comes into their lives who is not easy. He's a very difficult person to warm to and like, you know. And those characters are always they're always great to play. Really, they're not easy to understand. They're very difficult to like, but you kind of know that he's going to go on a journey now, and within the Outlander world, and we're going to see many sides to this character, and he's going to be, in a way, he's going to be broken down by Outlander, and we're going to see lots of new aspects. So you start really at the worst point. You start at the worst point of his character, where he's difficult and he's antagonistic and he's stubborn and he's self-willed, pious, and opinionated, and yet throughout then episode by episode through 6 into 7, you see this person broken down and peeled away and revealed as a very different person from the one. If we look at this, where we end up in beginning of 7 and where we were in Ardsmuir, there's very different personality being shown. It's the same person. It's just the experience, the life experience of what he's been through pre-Ardsmuir and from Ardsmuir to Wilmslow is a very, it's very transformative and a huge personal journey, a very painful one actually.
I mean, he seems beholden to Jamie, but at the same time, very willed in his principles.
Oh, and he's so willed in his principles. Is a very good way of putting it. And he's so tries to keep so true to them, and yet everything that's happening around him with his children, with Jamie, and especially with Claire, is pulling him away from that. He tries to be so strict with Malva and Alan, and it is having the reverse effect. And whatever feelings he has for Claire that are building throughout 6 and into 7, he has absolutely no control over. And seeing Jamie in the position when he first arrives in Fraser's Ridge, and sees Jamie with this perfect life, with this amazing woman in this amazing place and beautiful house, and Tom building this church and trying to do the right thing, and inside, he's not happy in any way whatsoever. There's no joy in his life really, and it's a difficult life, and but amazing story to be part of, and amazing to take Tom on that story, throughout. He's transformed by the time we get to series 7.
Yes, I mean, at this point, up until this point, he's truly only believed there's dark witchcraft in the world. But with Claire, he sees maybe there is good witchcraft in the world as well. And when she does care for him in that way, I think he truly sees that maybe it's not witchcraft, or maybe it's just, human kindness. There's so many layers to those particular moments, those scenes that you did with Katrina as well. It's beautiful. Talk about that transition when you are at that point. First, you're healing, but you don't believe in witchcraft, but you do evolve to truly maybe see that maybe it's not witchcraft. Did they discuss that with you much?
Well, I mean, I think Tom does believe it. There are real things called witches, and Claire represents a certainly different kind of witch, that's for sure. And I think those scenes in the surgery are so important to this transformative journey he goes on, because there's, even to be touched, to have her touch his hand, and for her, to attend to him and have that intimacy is, again, it goes against everything he's trying to believe in, and yet he's drawn to it, and he's, momentarily softened by it. When I always think the scene when he's asked to stay in the surgery and sleep in the surgery bed overnight because of she's just had the operation, and she comes down and gives him some food and she has her hair down. I think it's really it's like it's such an intimate scene. I mean, he's there for medical reasons, but it's such an intimate scene that it really kind of moves something within him, I think.
Which
you
we
know
don't really truly see until this first premiere episode. We don't learn why it's so moving and so palpable for him until we hear his backstory with his wife.
yeah, that's right. And then I guess we can start to understand, at least understand, why Tom has behaved like he has towards people since we've known him, since Artsmere to Wilmslow, and then you get the backstory. You think, goodness, this man has had such an extraordinarily difficult life. There's so much pain there, and he's really tried desperately to protect himself from more pain. And in doing so, he's invited more pain in. And he's, in a way, he's released from a lot of that torture, and by being honest, by being, saying how he really feels about Claire and revealing his backstory, and in outside the Red Falcon with Jamie, kind of equaling him, by saying, I present this idea to you, and Jamie sees it as a good idea, and also asks him, what would you say in my funeral? And the answer means the world to him. So that to arrive at a place of that level of vulnerability and honesty is always moving, isn't it?
I mean, I,
Sorry.
I just focus on the tear that's like on your cheek when you're on that porch and you're really speaking to Jamie about why you're willing to give your life in exchange for Claire. It's maybe a love that he's never had, and also a love that he thought was incapable of maybe that
Mm.
at that period because of his experience with his wife. But you just truly feel the emotion and the heaviness of what Tom's
Mm.
been bearing the entire time in that scene. So it's so beautifully shot. Talk about filming the porch scene with Sam, and also then on the ship with Katrina. You're basically raw, bearing your heart in both of these places.
Yeah, and they're both, to have two in the same episode is extraordinary. But I think it's right. I think it is right that they're both in the same episode. It's so really reaches a peak, and yeah, they're both fantastic scenes, and they have similarities, as you say, with the rawness and the vulnerability and the openness and the honesty, which we've not seen much of before at all, really. We get a peak of it really in when he first turns up after the Malva death and offers to take Claire and escort her, and in a way, and therefore by doing so protecting her. But we've not come across that, and to have them both in the same episode was amazing, really. And they they were both shot very simply. I mean, especially the Tom and Claire scene in a very small space, in a very intimate, quiet, still space. You know, both. You know, I'm a massive fan of Sam and Katrina as people and as actors. You know, I mean, they are remarkable, and you know, to do those scenes with those two was just a gift and wonderful to do. You know, and you know, I do believe that you know one of the reasons why Outlander continues to grow and to become you know stronger by each season is largely a lot to do with Sam and Katrina. You know that they lead the pack in such a wonderful way. They're such great captains of the ship. You know, and so you know, as a guest actor coming in to do a part that you know has its own arc, but is within a smaller arc within the bigger framework, it's been yeah, it's been wonderful.
I was just going to ask, what has it meant to you to be a part of such an incredible, iconic, it's become a series?
Oh, I've been aware of Outlander for many years. You know, when this came along, um, it was it's wonderful. Yeah, it is wonderful to be a part of something. You know, to be a part of something. You know, to come into in season 6, and you know, I always think that the people who you know are there, the leading people, the people who play the leading parts, the two main characters that are there from the beginning to the end, how they behave is really you know has such an impact on how the set is and how the people behave towards and because they are both such wonderful people, you know. I'm still massively invested in the whole thing and in the parts they play and in the new stories and the new characters, and you know that they still give it the energy that they gave years ago. You know, is one of the reasons why it continues to grow from strength to strength, I believe.